Hi, I'm Simon Capon and thank you for watching this very short video. I use various psychological techniques to create fast and effective change in the thinking and behaviour patterns of people in sports. Now if you've seen the last video, you'll know that my friend who's a tennis player, whose name is Chris by the way, used to be a particularly good practice player but a very poor tournament or match player. So what we did was, after some discussion, was to come to the conclusion that the only difference between him as a match player and him as a practice player was simply his state, or in other words how he feels during matches compared to how he feels during practice. So what I did was to look at the detailed components of his state when he practices and take all those detailed components and bring them across, so he now has the very same state when he plays in tournaments. And the results have been quite incredible. Not only does he win a lot of matches now, but he also feels as good, if not better, in matches than he did when he played in practice. So what we're going to do today is to look at state, okay, and look at these detailed components. But first of all, it's important to understand what creates our state. And state is made up of two components. One is internal representation. Now, internal representation is simply the pictures in our minds. It could be the sounds in our minds. It can be that internal dialogue or that self-talk that we all have in our minds. And it can also be feelings in our mind and our entire body. So that's internal representation. But the other 50% that make up state is our physiology, and that's what we're going to concentrate on today. Physiology being simply the way that we stand, sit, or just physically hold ourselves. So if we go back to the example of Chris, the tennis player, when Chris used to play in tournaments, he would walk out onto the court with his head down. His stride pattern would be very short, and his breathing would generally take place from his chest area and be very shallow. Whenever Chris used to play a poor shot, he would then swing his racket around almost like he was trying to squat a fly. And when he sat down between games and sets, he would sit down with his elbows on his knees and just look down at the ground. But when Chris would practice, he would walk out onto court, stood very, very straight, his head held high, his stride pattern would be very long, and his breathing would be from the abdominal area, and it would be very calm, relaxed, very, very deep. If Chris played a poor shot, he would then instantly be ready for the next shot. He'd be poised for the next one. It's as if the last one didn't even exist. And then when he sat down for a break, he would always sit down with his back straight, his head up, and he would look across the court as if he really owned that space. So what I did was to take all of these detailed components of Chris's physiology when he practiced, so that he then could work on them, so he could actually look at these components and consciously use them whenever he played a game of tennis, whether it was in a league match or a tournament or practice. It didn't make any difference. If Chris played tennis, he would consciously use all of these detailed components of his physiology, and the result was fantastic. Now, we could have actually just stopped there, because that in itself made a huge difference, but to me that was only 50% of the positive state that we're after. So we still had to look at the internal representation, which we will cover on the next video. Now what I want you to do is to quite simply wait to a time when you play really, really well, or better still, go back to a time when you played at your very best, whether it was in a tournament or whether it was in a practice match. It doesn't make any difference. But think about the detailed components of your physiology. Write them down and then consciously put them into your game. Because what will happen is just the same as Chris. You consciously do it over and over again, and it just becomes a habit. So you do it without even thinking. So every time you play a match, you will have your perfect physical state, or be at the peak of your physiology. Now, get back to me on this. Tell me what happens. If you have any questions at all, just get back to me. My email is info simoncapon.co.uk. Please get back to me. Give me your stories. Tell me what's happening. And if you have any questions at all on this, then do ask. I will always get back to you. As I said, the next video will be on internal representation, so we can create 100% of your positive state. So that will be coming shortly. Thank you very much in advance for getting back to me, and thank you for watching this video.